Yo, it's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have our usual suspects of Spiggs 18 or Anthony. We have AlphaDean or simply Dean. And just as a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch or subscribe to us over on YouTube. We are also on the Anywhere Door, which is a Moonbeam platform that Monty Cook Games is trying to get together with all of the Monty Cook Games content creators in one spot. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely go check it out because it is going to be a plethora of content on there as far as Monty Cook Games stuff goes. But yeah, without further ado, Anthony, what are we doing here tonight?
Well, before we even get started with that, I got my Anywhere Door t-shirt on, Al. You see that?
Hey.
Yeah, so before we get started on this week's, going over the ledge speculation, I just want to remind everyone that CypherCon 2025 player signups is open right now. It looks a little funky right now, but we're fixing it. It'll be ready. It'll be totally beautiful again by the morning time. But if you're new to the Cypher system and you're a veteran player and want to roll some funny shaped math rocks with some cool people, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord and get the link to the Sign Up Genius document and pick some cool games to play. We have official MCG adventures, original adventures designed by members of the community, plus some fantastic adventures from many of the Cypher content creators like KedHub, Gonza Gaming, AlphaDean, Shadowmane, and Underground Oracle. Here's the great part. It's totally free, guys. So you have no excuse to come play with us. Head on over to the CU Discord and join the fun. Speaking of Underground Oracle, they fully funded Crystal Punk fantasy setting. Harold the Blighted Plane for Cypher System will be open for pre-orders at the beginning of next month. We were lucky enough to get advanced copies, and man, does this book look awesome. It's packed with a wonderful setting, all new species, type, foci, ciphers, and artifacts. It's a complete standalone book to get your gatherers out there traversing the water sands to uncover endless mysteries of the Blighted Plane. So be on the lookout for that soon. It's coming out, I believe Jess told me in the beginning of next month. They're also launching a brand new Kickstarter called Cypher Dimensions. It's a one-shot adventure book. It's genre-spanning adventures and exciting scenarios that sets up in minutes and gives you hours of play. That should be available at the beginning of the month as well. And since Underground Oracle is a great friend to us, to our channel, to our server, please go and show them some love when they drop that. So let's get the speculation started. Monty has been busy creating content for our show because it seems like every 2 days he's dropping something new. It gives us something to talk about. Gives the whole community a chance to get together and jump off the ledge, jump out the window together. So this has been fantastic. So he dropped a very interesting Cypher design diary today. It was called Hanging on Tight on the MCG website. Like always, if you want to keep up to date with the details of what's going on about the possible changes to Cypher system, the best way to do that is to go to the backer kit and give it a follow so you could be notified with all the cool stuff. We're going to read them here every week as soon as they come up, but it's still, if you want to be in the loop at the same time we are, it's best just go to the backer kit and, go follow that so you can be notified. Dean, like always, let's read the entire thing and then we'll jump off the ledge together as a community. So, want to take it away?
So the design diary email today came in and it starts as such. When modifying a rule set, most people focus on what's changing. But just as, if not more important, it is what remains the same. What this really comes down to is what is the essence of the original rule set that if change stops it from being the same game. Rightly or wrongly, this is why so many longtime D&D players embrace 3rd edition, but not the 4th edition. Both editions are arguably changed a lot of the rules, but many felt 4th edition veered too far from the essence of the game. It's why 5th edition reverted back to 2nd and 3rd edition style game while quietly retaining some of the advancements of 4th. It's not really a matter of how much you change, but what you change. This caused us to look at Cypher and really think about what makes it the game so many enjoy. We came up with three very broad answers. Customization of characters, ease of running the game. As a traditional RPG, a rather heavy focus on narrative. Customization. The core of character creation in Cypher is the character sentence. I am a blank blank who blanks, or I am a descriptive type who focuses. We not only wanted to retain that, we wanted to give more options and in general make building the sentence easier and faster so you can get playing the game more quickly. I wrote last time about our ideas regarding character type, character type, and descriptors have sometimes been a little muddied with extraneous stuff. And so we have worked to standardize and streamline them by simply making them a stat modification and a starting skill. And foci, well, we love foci. So we just wanted to make them more fun rather than prescribed progression. We asked, what if they worked more like skill trees found in some video games, or the Forte in Invisible Sun? This would mean each focus might have a different path. You could follow through it as you advance, and you could take the abilities you really wanted. As a side effect, adding more abilities to the foci makes advancing characters beyond Tier 6 really easy. Lastly, there were a lot of abilities from both focus and type in the game that just ease tasks one way or another. Useful, but not always interesting. With plenty of ways of easing tasks, the foremost effect being effort, another core concept of the game. We think it's more fun if most abilities grant characters a true new capability. In particular, we wanted to expand the number of abilities useful outside of combat, especially interaction and exploration. Ease of running the game. Cypher is a joy to run as a GM full stop. There are many reasons for this, but likely more prominent is that NPCs and creatures are simplified compared to characters, with all necessary information to run them sometimes being encoded into a single number, their level. I wouldn't change that for anything. This has the added benefit of keeping past adventures and source books valid, regardless of any changes we might make to the game. If creatures and NPCs don't change, that means you can still pick up any past book and use it pretty much as written. Character abilities from older products will also work just fine, but one might not always see the need for them depending on the context. Likewise, ciphers and artifacts, GM intrusion ideas, traps, challenges, and similar things from older products will still be perfectly viable alongside what we're doing. Focus on narrative. Narrative focus is something that couldn't change if we wanted the game to remain intact. In this context, it might be useful to consider very broad definitions of traditional versus narrative games. So consider that a traditional game focuses on rules that simulate reality or fiction, D&D being the obvious example, that then allows story to emerge from situations that those rules define. A narrative game worries far less about simulation and much more about story. A couple of examples are Powered by the Apocalypse and Fate. I'm vastly oversimplifying here, but you might say that in a traditional game, your character takes damage after the bad guy shoots you because that's what the rules say. In a narrative game, you might have to be rushed to the hospital after being shot because it makes for an exciting story. Cypher is a traditional game, but it has always leaned heavily into the story than the strict dictation of the rules. While not fully narrative or free-form game by any means, it actually strives to bridge the narrative and traditional gaming styles by also prioritizing the best for the story the group is creating. GM and player intrusions in the game are the clearest example of this in Cypher. We found that focusing on the story and smooth play requires streamlining some of the rules and clutter in the game. As so often happens with games, there are mechanics in the rules that seem like good, useful tools at the beginning that eventually no one really uses because they're extraneous or don't fit the overall style of the game. Frankly, these are rough edges to a game that a designer can smooth out and people won't even notice that they're gone, which is actually quite satisfying. As we work, we hang tight. We hang on tight to what makes Cypher the game it always meant to be. And when we make the change, it's to make things even more Cypher. We're always fastidious about making sure it's the game we all love.
Well, that's a lot there, Dean.
Yeah.
All right, first off, what's your initial reaction on this? And chat, let us know, because I think that this one, even though the last design diary, I think, gave us more information and was more of a slap you in the face kind of design diary, where like, hey, look, this is happening. You know, when they talked about going into a sort of wound system, right? But I think this design diary actually, if you read between the lines, it's actually more informative than the last one. But the last one just slapped you in the face with its information, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to say this about this one versus the last one. The last one just caused an upheaval. It caused blood pressure to rise. It caused people to bounce off the walls that, oh my God, how many things are changing. This one literally leans into what is the core of Cypher, and how, even though we're doing this big change with adding a differentiated damage track, if you will, wound levels and so on and so forth, this basically took us back to saying, hey, look, this is how we're still going to be able to have our backward compatibility, our 95% compatibility. The skill trees actually make me happy, because that was something that I thought I might have to change in my game, but it's something that I was already doing for you to be able to create these unique, foci for your characters. So that right there is like another aspect that just kind of gives, eases the pain. And I think also something that we've done in other games, like remember when we were playing our superhero games, Ant, and we would organically build, even though you would take a focus, you would organically build it, you would change it with your power shifts and so on and so forth to make it something completely unique in what you wanted. So this to me leans into all of that those cooler aspects.
First of all, I'm happy you brought up the backwards compatibility. And I'm gonna touch on that in a few seconds, but I want to go back to what Monty was actually saying, the skill tree thing. I think that I'm 100% on board with that. And it's funny because someone on Facebook the other day, it might have been yesterday or the day before, they had used a phrase that I tend to say a lot. It was like, oh, you got to let Monty cook, right? 100% agree with that. If there's any designer out there that I have 100% confidence that's going to deliver an A1 plus product, is Monty Cook. I think he's on my Mount Rushmore of designers. But, right, and I'm going to say this with a caveat, but if you let someone like Monty cook, right, he's going to come up with a million different super cool ideas, which I think people in chat, and I can understand this thought process, is if you come up with a bunch of cool new stuff, how far away from the traditional Cypher core are you going to get? Because there's a lot, and he said some trigger words that bothered some people on Facebook and bothered some people on our server. When you start using comparisons to stuff like D&D or other systems, it gets people nervous. I know what Monty meant in the statement, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't make people nervous, because there was a lot of people, somebody on Facebook wrote, they're trying to go to, they're trying to capture that D&D crowd. I don't think that's what Monty meant.
Not at all.
Writing, but someone sees the word D&D attached to their favorite non-D&D game, and it gets people nervous.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to go back in history and talk about Monty again. I don't know how many of you know or remember Iron Heroes that Monty put out during the 3rd edition days. or was it second edition? But at any rate, it was a departure from the idea of having magic in your game, and it was a gritty, hardcore. It had some serious mechanics, but it was very simulationist in the respect of what the mechanics did and how things operated. If you embraced it for what it was, you would see that it was still classic D&D. The only thing was he stripped out the one crutch that everybody used, which was magic. And I think a lot of times what Monty does is gives us so many little tweaks and tools. And I think a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, the triggers that you're saying people are going on, I think those are just going to be plugged in as options, just like the rest of the toolkit nature of Cypher. And I know, Ked Huff is probably going to say something smart in the mouth like I'm simping for MCG, but.
Don't get me wrong. I think there's nothing in this document that Monty wrote here that I disagree with. I'm 100%, I'm on board with all these changes. Like chat, I think Jason said in chat, MCG is a 10-year-old game. But once again, I'm going to play the devil's advocate, right? I'm on board with all these changes, but you can't say, oh, we're 100% compatible, 90% compatible, when I could see there's a lot of stuff that's isn't compatible. Even where Monty wrote, if we dissect this, right? Let me see exactly what the phrasing was, because I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, pull it up so we can, because I'm definitely on. I definitely want to.
You know what part I'm talking about, right? Oh yeah, okay, here, right? He talks about the stuff that isn't changing, right? And he put ciphers, artifacts, GM intrusion ideas, traps, challenges, and similar things from older products will still be perfectly viable alongside with what they're doing. Cool. Characters are not in here, and monsters are not in here, which are two big things.
But technically they are. Technically, the monsters are there because he said NPCs. He said the core of NPCs are not changing. So by assigning a level to your NPC, whatever it is, monster, what have you, I don't think you have anything.
You're right. I see what you're saying. Regardless of changes, this is the I should have read I did one of yours. I didn't read a part from last week. This has the added benefit of keeping past adventures and sourcebooks valid, regardless of any changes we might make to the game. If creatures and NPCs don't change, that means you can still pick up any past book and use it pretty much as written. Character abilities from older products will also work just fine, but one might not always see the need for them depending on the context.
Exactly. And so for me, what that means is the customization, that's where the customization comes in. Because think about it this way. Think about when you would make, let's just say an archetypical warrior, okay? And there were abilities in archetypical warrior like control the field and so on and so forth. But it basically, if you looked at the original core 4 characters, they reminded you much more of fantasy style characters than they ever did lean into modernization. You had to use your own intellect.
Dean, I don't think anyone is questioning the need to tool the way character creation works. I think this is what started the whole idea of doing the new edition of Cypher System, was to clean that up.
And I don't know if you noticed it, but Sean was talking about on the server. Did you see that?
I was going to bring that up. That that there was a lot of chatter going on and a lot of misconceptions. If Sean had to hop on a couple of times and be like, "Well, that's not technically correct. We're doing it this way," or "Nothing set in stone."
And I like the fact that he brought up the 3 characters. His character was a tank. One character was middle of the road, and the other character was the fast and dodgy type. And he was, I really appreciated when he spoke, saying that, hey, we're playtesting this stuff right now, and this is how it's working.
You know what my favorite thing in this entire article is? Is that Monty mentioned that they're gonna change some of the abilities, because that was one of my peeves. Like, especially in certain genres, right? Post-apocalyptic superheroes come to mind, where just giving you an asset or lowering the difficulty or hindering something, having ability to do something more than that. You know what I mean? Like more actual. Not, it doesn't have to necessarily be a mechanical flavor, but I mean a mechanical change, but just the flavoring of what the ability does. And Monty says just that they're going to have to retool a lot of the abilities, to make them more unique.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and I mean, and that's where my excitement comes in. The fact that he talked about that, the foci are going to fall more like skill trees, which means these are going to be abilities, and all your reductions in difficulty and so on and so forth, your assets are still going to come from the other side. That's going to be based in effort use and type abilities and so on and so forth versus what your foci do. So that's exciting. I mean, like I said, talking to some of the other creators, these were things that we've all talked about. I mean, just like little things that Kid Hup is doing in Void Home and stuff that Gonza did with Mystery Flesh Pit, and concepts that I had to build martial arts. It just makes me happy, man.
Yeah, not the MCG's copy or any of that. I'm not.
No, I'm not saying it's hard. I'm just saying, you know what? Think about it this way, and it's not a slight. It's not somebody saying MCG is copying something from somebody else, because first of all, my stuff isn't even out. Ket Hup, has had Void Home. He's been working on it, but Void Home has changed 3 or 4 times just in design. And Gonza, his stuff is done, but again, what it is that there's this collective. I think it's a collective mind that we kind of all feed off of, with Cypher seeing the flexibility, and Monty's just tapping into it because he created it. He's like the beginning of the hive.
All right, let's go back to the document, guys. Chat, yeah. What do you guys think is the most surprising direction so far that you see that's been coming out from these design diaries, these emails? And what are you expecting to hear next? Because I think Monty's sort of playing that dot game where you form a line and then eventually there's going to be like a house built off of these design diaries. And my gut feeling is that there hasn't been a slap in the face. I mean, we haven't gotten another. I think there's another big announcement coming down the pike soon.
I like what old Gus said. He said, interesting to hear them lean away from ease tasks with foci abilities and into doing something no one else can do. That's neato. So I see everybody's picking up little things, that are nuanced and that are starting to come through. I'm really impressed with just the community alone. The community is saying a lot of cool things and seeing their insights. And I know Monty and the gang are listening.
Jason said, "I've won the darkest house. Let's not let Monty build any more houses." Facts. You know what? Now, I'm gonna just start throwing out my wish list for the backer kit, because I'm gonna tell you what they need to do. Right? They need another starter kit now. Because if you're changing the way characters are building and making it more genre specific and making it easier to create worlds in these genres, you need a starter kit that reflects that. So, and you need a starter kit to teach new players the wound system.
I'm gonna say something, and you're gonna be shocked that I say this. And probably the rest of the community too. But you know what they really need to do? They really need to take all of the stuff that they're doing and give us a strange source book with all of this stuff in it, so people can still have their strange and now have all the products that's come before, but now they really have it grokked for the strange. I think that would be massive. That would be massive. And you know how I feel about, everybody always say, oh, we need more strange stuff. And I always say we have more strange. But I could see this, the perfect jump off point to make the corrections to like the types and the strange and so on and so forth.
Woe of the Eternal said, as long as they're retooling abilities, I hope they take the time to condense the duplicate abilities. That's a great point as well. And my gut feeling is they are. I think the abilities and all the optional rules are going to be in whether it's one or two books, it's going to be in this set. I think we're gonna see. They're gonna make it a lot easier to just do any genre you want with one or two books, whatever it is, or three books according to Al. Al thinks it's the Holy Trinity coming, but
I said the same thing. I said the same thing.
That's another. Okay.
Manny Anilou said, "I'm excited that they might be moving into more narrative territory. Even games that claim to be more about the story don't do that. I'm thinking about Daggerheart. Great game, but quite crunchy and combat focused." Let me address that really quick, Manny Anilou.
Cypher's always been a narrative system.
Yeah, it has been. But this is what I think is going to happen. And I'm just throwing it out there. I think the rules section, I think we're going to get a new primer. I think we need a new primer, a new free primer. And I think that new free primer is going to be probably along the lines of 30 to 40 pages of rules versus the 17 pages it used to be. I'm thinking that we're going to get enough rules now that even the people who, for the people who have always wanted more direction, I think it's going to give them that, but I think it's also going to still be open and vague enough for those of us like you, myself, and the others who really enjoy that flexibility, making the rulings over rules. I think it's going to lean into both of those things, and I think everybody's going to be surprised when we really get our hands on it. I mean, like you said, these are all speculation, but man,
I'm going to tell you what I think the must needs are. And I don't know if Chad agrees with me. I don't know if you agree with me. But the must needs for me now is they need a new starter set. They need new character sheets. I hate to say it, but I'm probably going to need a new bestiary. Because I still think there's going to be changes to the creatures. Right?
I believe there's going to be changes, but I think there's going to be okay, like I said before, I think me and Al are on the same sheet of music when we say there's going to be
hold on a sec, Dave. And the last thing I think is a must is what you said, a primer. So it's a primer, character sheets, a bestiary, starter set. Those are the four needs, I think, that have to come out from this backer kit.
And I think you're spot on, Anthony. But that's what I'm saying, and I think that's why me and Al, as we kind of agree that there's going to be a trinity. I think there's going to be a trinity of books. I think we're going to get a new bestiary that will address a lot of the issues and probably have a 5 to 10 page errata in the front of the book that will address how to make simple conversions to the monsters from all your other books. Because I don't think they're going to be drastic. I think they're going to be simplistic idioms that make the monsters just work in a different way. Just like, adding a level and so on and so forth. And I think it might be something as simple as, okay, listen, if it's a level 3 monster, guess what? Level 3 monsters only do minor wounds in their attacks. And so on and so forth. But
IMMC 23 said I could see a 2-book set with the monsters in the GM book. That's where I'm leaning as well.
I can see that too. But I think I really think they enjoyed doing the monster book the first time. So I could see them doing another monster book with all their cool little nuances and possibly even giving us some different, some more expanded genres. I mean, because we did,
That's a good question. Do you think that they're going to follow the same line of genres? And chime in on this as well. That's a great question, D. Are they adding another genre? Because the Cypher System Book 1 and the revised book had the same genres, right? Or was romance?
No, actually, they added, because when they did the revised edition, we ended up with 9 genres, and I think with the original one it was 7. And you know what? Let me just grab the book. I can check real quick.
But do you chat while Dean is doing that? Do you think are they adding another genre? Because the white books are pretty much covering it.
Right, the white books are covering it, but the reality is, when you buy the core rule book, even with the core rule book, they're still going over those. So I'm looking in the original.
You can't assume that someone, as a company, you can't assume someone's going to make an additional purchase beyond the original. Like if someone purchased the Cypher, new book, you have to assume that they're going to just use that book for a while before they go out. And everybody's not like us that we have to have everything multiples.
So
signed.
In the original rule book, there were only 5 genres. It was fantasy, modern, science fiction, horror, and superheroes. And then in the revised rule book, we got 9. I remember that specifically. Was fantasy, modern, science fiction, horror, romance, superheroes, post-apocalyptic, fairy tale, and historical. So we got 4 more genres in the revised edition of the rule book.
So are we saying, let's put it out there, that we expect 4 more genres on top of that? Come on,
I don't know.
You got to follow the same trend, guys.
Hey, I'm not saying we're gonna get 4.
So I'm gonna throw my hat in. I want 2. Throw 2 in there. Maybe magical girls.
Anime, maybe, or just anime in general instead of magical girls as a whole, and then you get subgenre off of there.
Wuxia action movie or something.
Listen, we got options, and so, like I said, I just think, like I said, I think we might be on to something, and that's why I'm thinking that you'd possibly get a new bestiary with addressing some different genres as well. I mean, or some subgenres, because we got like crime bosses and stuff like that in this one. But now let's do some gangs, let's do some mobs and stuff like that. The possibilities are freaking endless.
I think they hinted on that each genre is going to break down into subgenres, like sort of like how they write the toolkit books, which, once again, you know how I feel about the toolkit books. I love that design. So if they converting that to the Cypher System core, I'm 100% on board with all of that.
And oh man, so because think about it, like we're talking about fantasy, so maybe they keep the same 9 genres in the book, but they expand the subgenres. Because like for fantasy, we don't have a full-on sword and sorcery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because didn't Monty? That might have been the article that you wasn't here, but Monty sort of hinted on that. I think he actually used the word subgenres.
He did use the word. I remember the article. I just wasn't here to be on the show. But yes, that exactly is what he said. He did say something about subgenres. So I'm thinking that we might see some expansion in what you get in the core book, which will in turn probably lead you to want to go get the white books. And as we've been noticing, like we said before, look at look at Rust and Redemption, High Noon at Midnight, and then Neon Rain. Look at the advancements and how they took the genre books to another level with each of those. So I'm thinking we're in for some surprises.
Yeah, I think the design work isn't done yet.
Oh,
even with the changes that they're making, I know people, and I know I've been playing devil's advocate the entire time, But I do think that if there are any changes to the older books, I think they're easily convertible. I mean, convertible, but it's easy to convert whatever's in the older books into the new ones. But I do like the word convertible. That'd be cool. They should
Manny Anilou and Starheart both. Yeah, I like that. He said, "Hot take: maybe take out the genres and just make it a full book, a full tool set that you can fully lean into the white books." And then Starheart followed it up with a Cypher World Campaign Builder book, be an interesting addition to Cypher. So yeah,
they've never done any. I mean, they've never really done I mean, they've done books of micro settings and stuff like that, but nothing in that vein.
Well, the closest thing we have to a world builder book would probably be for Numenera. The what was it? The Adventurer's Guide to the Ninth World. That's the closest thing that we have to a world builder type book, if you really think about it. So again, I could see some cool things coming out of that.
And they have a difficult task because and this falls for any universal system, right? The problem with universal systems is you're trying to cover every genre you possibly can, every scenario you possibly can, in either a 1 or 2 book set. And with universal systems, it's just too much freaking stuff. You know, like something's going to get lost to the cutting room floor. Like it's just inevitable.
It is an inevitability, but in the same breath, I think MCG's approach to the universal system is unique in the sense that they approach it by genres, by not changing any of the core mechanics, unlike other games from the past, GURPS, I'm talking to you. You know, they don't change any of the core mechanics, but add, as KedHub would always say, they add some more levers and dials, you know, ways to fine tune it. So I think their approach to a universal system is quite different in the sense that it is truly built as a toolkit. And then the biggest thing we have is that it is also built on the ideology of being narrative versus mechanical. So we don't have to.
He did mention that they are going to lean. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why. I know last week we were like jumping out the window with the wounds thing. But I think him stressing they want to lean more into the narrative and create, you know, communal storytelling. The wound system, I think it's more in line with that sort of gameplay. Mm-hmm. So I think that might be one of the reasons why, or a big reason why, they're going to implement that wound system, you know, for Magnus Archive.
Right, and here's another thing. When he wrote Ease of Running the Game, that right there can kind of contextualize a lot of things. Like he said, you know, likewise, ciphers, artifacts, GM intrusion, ideas, traps, challenges, and similar things from older products will still be perfectly viable alongside what we're doing. So that right there just substantiates or props up, for me, the backward compatibility. Because if you think about it, you just think about it as what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's like 7 things, and that's 7 major things that are like pillars of what Cypher is all about. So that makes me happy, you know.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm always excited when I hear that Sean, Bruce, and Monty are working on new abilities, and because I think all those guys are awesome with mechanics and coming up with. So you put the 3 of those guys together, and they're gonna come up with something crazy.
Well, here, let's put it this way. You said you gave Monty the compliment of having the illest pin game in the industry.
He's
right.
on Mount Rushmore.
Right.
He's on Mount Rushmore for sure.
Bruh, I'm not arguing. I'm not disputing that in any way. I'm just saying you gave him that moniker. And then I have to say this. If anybody has an ability about design flow, you cannot pass up what Sean does. Sean has this thing about design flow that is just uncanny. And Bruce Bruce just like puts shit in games that you don't even think is possible. Like, I mean, when you look at the Stars of Fire and we talk about the red line maneuver, that's literally from real world ideas. That's real world dogfighting and so on and so forth to pull a red line maneuver. If you know anything about airplanes and, fighter pilots and so on and so forth. And for him to contextualize it into a game that doesn't, require me to sit there with a protractor, an angle, and a T-square, it's freaking cool as shit. So I'm excited. I'm excited, hands down.
I have another question to ask, right? And I don't actually know the answer to this, but I want to ask it anyway. If they putting all their eggs in this basket with the wounds, right? It's gonna eliminate the resource management of taking damage from your pools initially. So it opens up, the opportunity to more player intrusions, more spending, effort.
Mm-hmm.
Abilities. I'm assuming there's going to be abilities with higher pool casting costs, right? Do you think that they're going to create another mechanic that utilizes spending points from your pool? And if so, what kind of ideas could they do?
See, for me, I don't think it's going to do that. I think it's just the opposite, because I think what they're going to do is start giving you the idea and option to still damage pools, but use it in a different way. Like, for example, when they decide to, say they decide to introduce psionics, a psionic setting or a genre like that, where everybody uses psionics. So how much sense does it make for you to be ticking off a damage track when psionic abilities attack specific things? So I think it's going to give them the ability to have both and have it work in concert. Like a well-oiled machine.
I understand where you're going, because that absolutely makes sense. I understand where you're going, but I think those are going to be one-of abilities. Like now, before I was like, I think when we did the first video, right? Once again, we throw all these ideas out, and half the time we're wrong. But like when we first started talking about this, I was like, they're gonna have, like, similar to what you're saying, they're gonna have both of those like mechanics working side by side. Now I'm thinking they just damage and combat is gonna work through the wound system. That's how it's gonna work. There might be one of abilities that might take from specific pools, but I think that ship is sailed of like having multiple stuff happening on a turn that's attacking your pools. I think it's going to work with the wound system, and I think that it's going to encourage people to use the resource management of the pools in different ways. Whether that's, Chad is talking about revising character arcs. That's a perfect example of something that could be revised to still keep the resource management from your pools.
And again, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, Anthony. I'm saying that I think it'll become a thing in specific genres. I think it's going to become a thing in genres where, you've got, like, especially just think about it, like Cyberpunk. Now I can actually give my net runners a different feel versus, being in the real world. You know what I'm saying? Remember, I don't know if you remember in the one Numenera book, Vertices, I think it was, where you combined all your pools into one pool, and you just pulled from one pool. When you were inside the matrix, inside the data sphere. Oh, that's what it was, Into the Data Sphere. That book. So where all your abilities get combined into one pool, and like I said, I've run different things and looking at some of the things that they're doing, and I like what Tristan in D&D, imagine arc abilities that cost points. Look at that.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna have to, because you know what my fear is, and once again, we're not part of the playtest, so we don't know if this is even relevant. right? But my fear is that since damage is no longer coming from the pools, that the pools are gonna just it's gonna be we're gonna lose that resource management feel that we currently get from Cypher. So, and in a way you alleviate that is by giving the players additional ways of spending points from pools.
I don't think we're going to lose the resource management, because even think about it this way. I know, and you should know this too, from personal experience. Just think about, when we were playing, any game, for example. If a conflict situation, not even necessarily combat, a conflict situation happens, and players start losing points, and let's just say you started out with 10, 9, and 16 points, and wherever you're, but your primary pool is your intellect, and you're in a situation, and this ability costs you 3 points, and this ability costs you 2 points, and this ability costs you this, and then you want to spend a level of effort. You think about it, 3, 2, a level of effort, because you still got your edge. You just spent like 9 points out of your 16 points. So, and nobody's done any damage to your pool yet. Yeah, so what I think is going to happen is they're just going to encourage people.
Here's the point, Dean. The way you're viewing it is how it's currently set up, right?
Right.
There won't be any damage coming from your pools. So
correct. But that 9 points,
it doesn't change anything.
That 9 points changes a
point. He won't. And the Magnus Archives, the idea is that you need to spend more towards effort to avoid stress. If they carry that as well over, that's an additional way of spending points from your pool.
And Monty said that. Monty said that there are ways that you can spend might points and so on and so forth to avoid taking those wounds. So that it's already built in, and that's my point. Though my point is, you spent 9 points out of your 16 points. That means you only have 7 points left. And now let's say conflict does happen. Oh shit!
If conflict does happen, it doesn't affect your pool, so it doesn't matter. That's the point.
The conflict doesn't affect your pools, but it does affect your pools, because now you still have less to work with in the midst of the conflict. The only difference is you're not taking damage to your pool, but you've been willy-nilly and you spent 9 points, already used. Let's just say you already used a recovery roll. Now what? Yeah, you kind of in the thick of it. So I think
we go down a rabbit hole, but how is that any different than the way Cypher system is currently set up?
The only different.
How is it any different from the way Cypher is currently set up?
And that's my point. That's the point I'm making. You're talking about, will people use their points differently? I don't think so. The only difference is this. Now they don't worry. Now you don't have the argument that, I'm going to take damage to my pools every time I get into a conflict situation. So I think it's going to work in the sense of, where you do have those unique situations. You know what? Guess what? It's going to bypass attacking your moderate wounds. I'm going to attack your speed pool. Those unique situations, and now to hit you with a poison, that's a paralytic. Okay, a paralytic, no, you're not going to take wounds, but guess what? You're going to be slowed down. You're going to have less resources to work with, and so on and so forth. I think that's going to be the cooler aspect, is now that you won't have that argument anymore.
Yeah, I never understood that argument, but yeah, I guess I see your point on that.
Well, to me, that's what...
Zil Zaddy brought up a good point. Redoing overall armor. They're going to have to redo the way armor works as well, because the armor was saving you points from your pool. So
he mentioned there was a mention of how armor is going to work different. He didn't go into no details, but he did mention that armor was going to do something else versus.
armor. This is funny, but armor has been the one thing in Cypher system that's changed the most. If they change armor, wouldn't this be the third or fourth time they've changed the armor rule from the original?
About the third time, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? Armor is also one of those things that in game is always in any game has always been a point of contention.
Yeah,
You know, it's always been a point of contention. You know, I mean, when you look at D&D, armor class means you're harder to hit. You know, but if you play Shadowrun, you know, it was, you know, it would reduce your damage, but it also reduced your mobility. And it was like so many different aspects. So armor is one of those things that I think we're going to continue to play with. I mean, I know just from personal experience, you know, when you put on...
I don't remember whether it's Dragonbane or Tiny Dungeon because I've been reading both of those like hard body the last few days. But one of them, armor just gives you more temporary hit points. That's all it does.
Right, exactly. I mean, which is really no different than what Cypher did, because you think about it, when it's just reducing damage, you know, so you're literally getting temporary hit points. Like one of the things that I did was introduce armor integrity. If your armor takes so much damage, like in game, your armor starts to fall apart, you know, until it's repaired. You know, so every time you lose a level of armor integrity, like in my game, then it
rules as well. Daggerheart uses something similar to that.
Yeah, like I said,
slots, and then like so basically the integrity of the armor until you can repair it or rest.
Exactly, until you can repair your armor. If you like, and I have a thing for organic armor. Organic armor can be replenished, but you got to use recovery roll points to replenish organic armor, you know, or living armor, or you might have to use raw points or something like that in my game.
Oh, speaking of which, how are recovery rolls going to work now? Are you gonna have an option? Like now, I think recovery rolls might be an option of points on your pool or remove wounds or something like that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So
we haven't even talked about that. Chat, how do you guys think recovery rolls are going to work now? Are they going to rechange that? Like my gut feeling is they'll probably give you an option of either or. Like you decide when you take a recovery roll whether you want to remove wounds or add points to your pool.
Oh,
Zilzaddy said healing is ripe for variable rules depending on genre. And again, that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm thinking recovery rolls are going to do, you know, you might still get the same recovery roll. So, you know, what is it, 1d6 plus 1 at tier 1? So that's 7 points. So now you got to figure out, do I want to replenish my pool or do I want to replenish my wound capability?
Jason thinks they just going to convert the entire rule from the Magnus Archives where recovery rolls and relieving stress are two different mechanics.
Could be. And again, we don't know yet, but see, all of those are viable. And that's the one aspect I like about it. And then the other side of the coin is, depending on what they make standardized, that still means you've got the option to do your own thing because Cypher is flexible. You know, based on your genre. Because like I said, for some genres,
it wouldn't break the system.
What'd you say?
Either way, it wouldn't break the system. You're absolutely right on that.
Yeah, you know. I
think Cypher has very few mechanics that breaks the system. I don't think they have any mechanics that break the system.
No, I don't either. I really don't. I don't think they. I just don't. I don't think they break it. I'm with you. So, yeah. Tristan D&D said, Cypher system, it's accommodating. Nice.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think this one is, you know what's funny? I think with the last one, like the last email was more like an explosion. This one is like the woods are still burning out, and it's probably actually spreading even further. But people are less panicked by this one. I think this was the more reassuring.
Well, you know what it is, Anthony? The way I would describe it, like you said, the woods are burning, but the fire department has arrived and they're starting to put stuff out, but it's still burning that way.
Yeah, yeah. You actually see that they're getting the hoses out, they're getting ready to fight this fire. Yeah, because I didn't get the sense of more panic. The most panic I got, which was hilarious, was the references to D&D. Like, I saw a couple people like, oh no, they're going the D&D route. And it was just, I personally think it was just a mention of the word D&D gets people's imagination going a certain direction.
Yeah. Well, listen, and I mean, the way I see it is 10:34. We beat this horse pretty good. We got a lot of good stuff out.
A couple quick things though, before we even go to anything. We're gonna go back to CypherCon. We might, guys. When we spoke to Charles, I'm pretty sure, I can't guarantee this, but I'm pretty sure for CypherCon we're gonna have a decent framework on what the new rules are gonna look like, and we've been in discussion with Kate and Charles about during CypherCon either having someone from MCG or training Golden One mods to actually go over all the rule changes, and we'll have either a room design so people could go and figure out like, hey, these are the changes. And once again, this is not set in stone, but there has been discussion of the new character creation will be available in some of the CypherCon games.
Right.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully, I think we can start saying this now because all the information is out. This is stuff we knew months ago. But hopefully, the MCG adventures at least will be using the new Cypher system.
Yeah. And real quick, let me just throw this out there. Zilzaddy, he said, I didn't sign up for CypherCon. I effed up. Maybe I'll play in things instead. You are more than welcome to play, but you do know people, so you could give us a call if you really, we're not doing it for everybody and we're not doing it for everything. But, maybe we could get you in there to an open slot.
Zil, send me a direct message with the time slot. You see what the slots are with the time slots that you're interested in posting the game. It's not too late, but I would say you probably have until Sunday before we have to cut that off. But send me out the actual date and we'll make it happen for you. But if not, join some freaking games. And Dean, what's the name of the game you're running? Because a couple people actually mentioned they didn't even know you were running a game.
I don't know how they missed it. It is called the Legendary Weapons of Legacy, and it will be set in my September at Legacy world. There will be pre-gens, and I think it's going to be a wild ride. I'm looking forward to letting people start to explore the world, and I'm getting close to having a good document for the quick start for everybody as well.
All right, yeah, because a couple of people mentioned in chat that they didn't even know you was running games.
Yeah, I'm running 2 slots. I'm running Saturday second slot and Sunday third slot.
I'm running Friday first slot, which is totally full. But my Sunday last slot, Choja Show Play with Dead Things. We still got, I think there's 3 or 4 slots available. So if you want to play with me or Dean, just
I've got 3 slots in one game left and 2 slots in the other game left. So, just look it up. It's called Legendary Weapons of Legacy.
Yeah, but CypherCon is going to be hella fun, guys. I don't want to stress this enough. We have, not only do we have the games planned, but we have a lot of cool things as soon as the games start filling up that we'll start working on that. But we plan to have giveaways. We plan to have raffles every day. We plan to have live panels. Ken Up is going to do an actual play. Those most likely will happen on Thursday, the first day of the con. And guys, everything is free. the giveaways, the raffles, everything is entirely free. Thank to the Monica Games sponsorship. This year they allowed us to be able, with the money that they gave us, allow us to do some really cool things. So it's totally free. All you have to do is go to the Cypher Unlimited Discord and sign up to become a member of the Discord, and then join the CypherCon.
Then sign up and hit the sign up.
Yep, and you'll be eligible for everything: the raffles, the free gift bags, to be able to play in games. It's all free. Free. Jason said free. Damn socialist.
All right, man. Listen, final thoughts real quick, because it's like 10:30 and I think Alex got to run.
Yeah. Give me your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I think this here kind of put out the dumpster fire and just put the smolder on it. And I'm looking forward to this next design diary, so we have something else to riff on.
My final thoughts is that I'm super excited now. I think I was excited before, but I really love the direction that they're heading in right now, and I'm excited to see more. And I know this might not be a popular opinion, but I kind of want more changes, because all the changes I'm hearing, I think, are going to be a positive. So if they have more changes, I'm all for it. If you're scared of the change, I understand that too. But me personally, I'm all for the changes.
Well, we said it before, Ant. We trust them. We trust MCG, and 90% of the stuff that, just like I said, look at the last 3 genre books. The last 3 white books have brought a lot of changes, a lot of additional tools to play with. I mean, just look in the, what was it? It's Only Magic. They literally added tiering up for your descriptors as types. The different races.
If you like us and you like what we do, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server for all things Monica Games. We have the largest fan-run Discord server for everything MCG. But if Discord's not for you, join our Facebook group. Not as big as our Discord, but there's still great conversations being had there daily. Or go to, here on Twitch or Moonbeam, subscribe here, or give us a follow on Moonbeam, or go to our YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe there. Any help you guys could give us is greatly appreciated. We're still trying to really build all those platforms up. And if you do go watch this on YouTube, just give us a little like, guys. It helps us out with the algorithm. You want to support us financially in any way? It helps us out with little things like setting up a convention. Right? You could give us a little donation on Ko-fi, or go to our online store, pick up some cool Cypher Limited merch, like the shirt Dean got on or the hat I got on. And guys, have you seen the 2 CypherCon shirts? They will be up. They're freaking awesome. I posted both of them on Facebook and on the Discord. They're freaking phenomenal. They'll be up very soon in the in our merch store. So check those out. I can't help but send it. I want multiple T-shirts, hats, stickers of those designs, because they're freaking awesome. So go check those out. And last but not least, unless I forgot something, we love you guys.
Nope, I think that was good. Thank you guys so much for hosting this discussion. Definitely nice to see them talking about what's going to stay the same in relations to what they're changing. Definitely some stuff to think about. But thank you everybody in the audience for coming on and watching. It's been a great talk. Not just coming to watch, but chatting about the changes and what we're talking about. It's definitely makes the stream what it is. So thank you guys so much. But yeah, as usual, from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.